It was probably one of the hardest tests I've ever had to do. Okay, so today I'm going to give you some ideas, and we are going to solve. We're going to solve 3 different quadratics.
You are hearing this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying out my Chromebook this time instead of my phone.
Yeah, right on. Good. All right, and solve means it means find out which x works. This means find out which x works. And think of this as kind of like finding x-intercepts. All right, so that's what solve means. Solve means, all right. So the first one we're going to solve it in factored form. And then we're going to solve one in vertex form, right? And then we're going to solve one in standard form. And which one do you think is the easiest? All right. And then I'm gonna do all 3. Okay, I'll stick with purple for. All right, here's factored form. X plus 2 times x minus 4 equals 0. And then here's vertex form. I'm going to do it in blue, even though I already wrote this in purple. And this will slow me down a little bit, so in case you got to catch up. All right, here is vertex form. X minus 1. So vertex form has identical twins. And then here is standard form. In standard form, I'm going to do it in I don't know what color. This weird color. All right, standard. And one of them is the easiest one. One of them is less easy. And the third one is the least easy. So standard form will look like this one. X squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Okay. All right. So let's get some participation here. Which one do you think is the easiest to solve? You could tell the answer just by looking at it, by the way.
Factored.
Factored, definitely. What numbers work?
-2, +4.
Yep, exactly. Factored is like x could be -2 or x could be 4. Boom, this is easy. It's so easy that you can just put 2 letters. That's the boss. This is the one we like. We really like this, right? We like this. We like easy. All right, done. All right, I don't know if I've shown you guys how to solve vertex form. I don't remember. We got to get rid of the -9. We got to square root it, and then does that make sense? So in vertex form, we got to add 9, both sides. And then we're going to have something times itself equals 9. By the way, what times itself equals 9? 3. So x minus 1 must equal 3. Or What about -3? Does -3 times -3 equal 9? Make sense? So there's two answers. Because if you square 3, you'll get 9. And if you square -3, you'll also get what? You also get 9. Okay? So there are two answers. So now, how do we solve them? Well, remember 6th grade when you'd have to put +1? So what are the answers? X equals
4.
Or x equals what? Look at this. Same answers, right? So is solving a vertex form pretty easy too? I mean, it's easy, but you got to do a little bit more work. Does that make sense? It's still pretty easy. We can even call it lowercase easy, right? Easy. We'll call this easy E.
Easy's with an S.
I know, but it's so easy that you only need 2 letters. It's a joke. Okay, right. All right. So easy. It's pretty easy, right? It's not hard. If you're in vertex form, it's good. I mean, who's our favorite factor, right? And if not, who's our second favorite? Vertex, right? All right. Who is our least favorite? Standard. All right. Standard. Now, standard, think about it. If you're digging a hole, you can do a shovel, you can dig a hole. And then if it's really, really like hard, then you might need like a sledgehammer that'll still dig a hole, or you could probably like dig it with your hands if it's really soft. So there's different tools. So one of the tools that we use here for standard, and this is just one tool, right? We're going to do an area model, right? And we're going to think of two numbers that multiply to -8, right? And the same two numbers add to what number? -2. So what two numbers multiply to -8 but somehow add up to -2? So what two numbers here and here? What two numbers?
-4, +2.
-4, +2. That works, right? Check. And -4, that also checks. So we're going to put that inside of here, -4x and +2x. So now you can figure out the outside. Inside box done, now outside. This is riding the bicycle backwards, right? So therefore, this becomes x minus 4, x plus 2. And now we turn this into a factor form, and we already know how to solve factor form, right? And this is x equals 4, or x equals what? Make sense? Least easy, right? Make sense? But it's still kind of easy, right?
I actually think standard form is easier than vertex form.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So you're going to find that different people will gravitate to different ones, okay? And with vertex form, we just have to get rid of that 9, the -9, and then we have to square root it, then we have to add 1. And then listen to what I say, and then look what I'm pointing to. Hang on. So we have to add 9. What does it say here, Amar? Subtract 9, right?
Subtract 9.
We have to square root. What does this say here? Square, right? And what does this say? We have to add 1. What does this say?
Subtract.
So yeah, so basically you have to do the opposite of everything, right? And then you basically undo it, right? If you get your shoelace and you put a bunch of knots, you have to undo the knots in the reverse order. Anyway, so these are the three different ways to solve, and this is how you find the x-intercepts too. Now, these are x-intercepts if these were functions, right? If it's instead of 0, it said f of x. Instead of 0, it said y. Instead of 0, it said g of x. Does that make sense? So if they're functions, then they're x-intercepts. They're not solutions. They're just x-intercepts. All right. So yesterday, you guys practiced this. Last week, we practiced these a lot. So today, this is where we're going to practice. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to solve another one, and you're going to help me make it up. Okay. All right. Can you give me a vertex form function? Just tell me what numbers to put in here. Give me any number to put in the x. Would you like to add or subtract? And what number? Anybody? Any number that comes to mind.
I'm fucking in my hearing.
What number would you like, Travis?
I was asking what I was hearing in the background. I'm hearing some buzzing.
Oh, it's my phone. Somebody's calling me.
Like 7.
All right, so I'm going to do a 7 and a 2. I'm going to add a 7, and I'm going to subtract the 2. Okay? By the way, I'm actually going to make this 2, make it 4, and you'll see why in a minute. Make this a 4. All right, so now we're going to solve this, right? So who's got to leave first? The -4, the 7, or the square? What's the first thing it's got to leave?
The 0.
Well, the zero stays here, right? So basically, what we want is x by itself. Yeah. So we got to get rid of the 4, the -4. So we're going to add 4. Okay. And now this is going to be something times itself equals 4. And by the way, what times itself equals 4?
2.
2. Is there any other option? Is it -2? So you could say what's inside the parentheses could be 2, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4. Or what's inside the parentheses could also be -2. Because both of these equal what? 4, right? When you square them, right? When you square them. So what plus 7 is 2? Well, -7, -7. So x is -5. Here's one answer. And what's the other one? -9. This is the other one, right? Okay, so I'm only going to do 2 more, and then I'll give you guys the Khan Academy stuff. Okay, there's 3 of them, but they're pretty simple. Okay, any questions on solving vertex form looking ones? By the way, the piece that I'm purposely omitting is that in order to get rid of the 2, you square root it and you square root this. So when you square root a square, this will get rid of the 2, the square. And the square root of 4 is actually only 2, but it could also be -2. Okay. All right, let's do one more that has more numbers in it, okay? And I'm going to give you one that has a number in front, like the a value, right? The steps are 5 times. All right. Okay. All right, notice it doesn't say 0, and that's okay. It doesn't need to say 0, okay? So Who's got to leave first? The 5, the -1, the square, or the -3?
-3.
The 3. The 3's got to go first. That's the easiest thing to get rid of. It's kind of like PEMDAS, but in reverse, right? So then we have 5 times. Okay. All right. Who's got to go next? The 5, the square, the negative, or the -1?
The square.
The square. Now, if you get rid of the square, you would do this, except that you can't really get rid of the 5. The square root can't get rid of the 5. That would be pretty good, but
I think the 5.
the 5, the multiplication's got to go first. Remember PEMDAS is like this, PEMDAS. You're going in reverse. So we got rid of the adding and subtracting. Now we do the multiplication. 5 is multiplying. So what is the opposite of multiplying?
Dividing.
Dividing. So that's how we're going to get rid of the 5. So we get rid of the 5 like this. Bye-bye 5. So now you have and that's what you want, right? Okay, next. Who's going to leave first, the square or the -1? What do you think, Travis? Now you get the square. And how do you get rid of a square?
Square rooting it.
You square rooting it. And this will get rid of that. That'll get rid of that. Now, even the parentheses, it'll get rid of the parentheses. Now, the square root of 5, I'm going to use Desmos. I think it's going to be like 2 point something, right? Square root 5. The square root of 5 is 2.2. And then I'll even say 4. But is that the only number that when you multiply you can get 5? Or is there a negative version of it? Remember, there's always a negative version right here. Okay, so now we're back into 7th grade. So we got to get rid of that -1. So how do you get rid of negative? Boom, there we go. So x equals 3.24 or x equals -1, -1.24. Is that how it works? Okay, so these are your x-intercepts or your solutions, okay? All right. So I wanted to show you that when you square root a number, you're going to get 2 answers. And the reason you get 2 answers is because we're not really square rooting it. We're saying what times itself equals 5. Does that make sense? In the real world, the square root of 5 is just 2.24. But this question isn't asking what's the square root of 5. It's asking what times itself is 5. It's a different question, okay? All right, and here's my last one, okay?
Oh, I thought that was your last one.
This is the real last one. That one was my fake last one. It's going to be real easy. There we go. Okay. All right. We got to get rid of that the positive one first. How do we get rid of that?
Subtract 1.
Oh, we're going to get rid of this one first. The adding. What's the opposite of adding? Subtract. Good job. Yeah. You actually said it correctly, and I don't even know what. Okay. Here we go. All right, now here's a trick question. I'm giving you a heads up. What times itself is -1?
-1. I mean, +1.
I see.
-1 and +1.
Well, it says itself, right? What times itself is negative? So, can you multiply a number by itself and get negative?
No.
No. So, no answers.
Oh.
That means that there is no number that you're going to put in there that you're going to get a negative answer. And this means or no x-intercepts. Right? Okay. So when you get a negative over here, then there is no x-intercepts, unless there's a negative out here. Because then you could divide by negative and turn, you divide this by -1 and this by -1, you could turn it into positive, right? Okay, now I'm going to show you in Desmos real quick what that would look like. I think I had x squared, x minus 1, hang on, x minus 1, watch this, everybody, squared, and then -1. Oh, I had +1, right? Now see this, there is no x-intercepts. There, nothing crosses the x-axis, right? But if there's a negative in the front of it, that means the steps are going downhill. Now there is x-intercepts. Does that make sense? Okay, so go ahead and go to Khan Academy, and I don't mind if you solve these with algebra or if you use Desmos, as long as you're practicing. I'm okay with that. So they're going to be called quadratics by taking square roots. I'm assigning it right now. Give me 1 second. Boom. How many you guys want? 2 or 3? Two. All right. Very good. You get 2. I'm going to give you the easy one, and then this the less easy, but it's still the same. And I want you to believe me that solving quadratics, it's not complicated. It's nowhere near as complicated as my stats class that really got to me, but I survived, right? I shouldn't have waited so long, but my strategy worked. Okay, so in Khan Academy, take a look. And you should be able to do this pretty quickly, especially if you've been kind of following me with the lesson. Let's see here. Sorry, I didn't want to show these scores, but sorry about that. I want to make sure, yeah, they're both here. And then when you're done with both, you'll be done for today, okay? And then you have the weekend and tomorrow. If you have anything to catch up on, go ahead and do it. I'll type in the new grades on Sunday. Some of your friends aren't doing anything, and I'm really worried that they're missing out.
You mean some people have been slacking off seriously?
Like some people have seriously missing a lot, and I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. But it still takes effort. I mean, you guys still have to show up, and you still have to like do it. So I really applaud you for that. But some of your peers.
If I had to guess why, maybe it's probably because I feel like I myself feel like my mind's kind of reverting to basic summer instincts, and that's why I'm doing as well as I.
Yeah, but you know what?
I was in school, but
we only had like 20 more days, right? So
I know, but that's probably around the time when when students' minds like tend to like start reverting to summer instincts, you know, where in fact they probably did it earlier than intended because of school closures.
That's true.
Mr. Quinones, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, man?
So, basically, Governor Newsom said that schools might reopen in July. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't have enough information on it, but I think what he's probably trying to do is trying to come up with like for people that missed a lot, that they can get let's say that you didn't do anything because you couldn't. Maybe there'll be a earlier section, like a summer school. You know what I mean? So let's say that you didn't do anything. So then you're going to come into school a little bit ahead and then do like a summer class so that you can catch up. So that's what I'm hoping that they do.
Well, either way, I'm not going to school in July. Like, if they make us start the school year early in July, for July, I'm going to skip school, period.
Well, you know what? I'll tell them I could do online classes all day long, man. I kind of like this.
You mean you prefer to live teaching?
Well, in terms of I like live teaching, but I'm saying I could do this again if they offered an option. Let's say they give you an option that you can either go in July or you can do another online. Like when you go to Sierra College, you can pick online classes or live classes. So I'm not sure.
Do live classes just so that way I could so I could probably force my mind into proper work mode instead of
that's true.
I'm not gonna have any school and stake in my house, especially in my room.
Yeah, it is difficult to adjust to it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Sophia's already done with one.
It's especially difficult to adjust yourself to school when you've got your normal surroundings around you, a bookshelf of movies and Wii and GameCube and 360 games and even
I agree.
Old school TV and an AC TV and a drum set.
Well, you should make a room in the garage and make it like your class. All right. Any questions on this, guys? So basically, these are x-intercepts. What they're asking for. Make sure to put the small one.
Oh, by the way, am I the only one that thinks drums would be good with stress relievers in classrooms? Students could go onto there and anytime just bang on the drums release their stress instead of yelling.
Huh.
I think that would actually be, because my dad actually said that they're good stress relievers.
Well, if you had a drum set that you would have to hit a bunch of feathers, that might be a good idea. You can hit them as hard as you want and it wouldn't even make that much noise.
Yeah, because if you did a normal drum set, you could probably create a huge racket.
Yeah. Yep.
So you probably risk that with doing stuff while you're watching.
I agree. Okay. Any questions on solving? Doesn't matter which one. Remember, you can check your answers with Desmos, right? But try to do the algebra. Let me look at the second one. So if they're functions, you're replacing the f of x with 0, and then you're just solving it backwards. So this one, I would have subtracted 6, then divided by 2, then square rooted. Yep. I think it's going to be this one. And keep in mind, solving quadratics is important in your life for some reason. Not sure why, but... All right, well, you guys do this. I'm going to look at my...
So is this just what we're finishing with?
Yeah, just finish this. I'll stay on here for a little bit. If you want to do it later, it's fine. Or you just want to get it over with in one, now.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can.
Now remember...
All right, bye, Mr. Quinones.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
I'm kind of trying to see if I can present on my Chromebook screen.
Yeah, you press screen and let me look to see if I have any. Do you have a question on one of these?
No, I just wanted to try it out.
Try it. Okay.
Typical FaceTime, and you said screen.
Right.
Where's the screen button? Where's the?
Mine says it's on the right bottom.
The right bottom.
Yeah. See, mine, it says, you can see it's right here. It says you are presenting. So that's where it would say.
So I pressed the Miguel Quinones is presenting, and now I got a caption that says, "This will let you take over from Quinones as the main presenter."
Right.
So you share now.
Yeah, go ahead and try it. Let me see. And then it'll show me your screen. Make sure there's no inappropriateness. And then let's say you had a question. Let's go to Khan Academy, and you can show me. You show me your question, and then I could.
I've seen this.
And then when you're done, you'd go back and you press So right here, I would subtract 4, divide by 3, and then square root.
All right. Okay. Good.
All right. So then when you want to stop presenting, go back to the meet, and then click on the middle. Says stop presenting.
Yeah, it's also you could also probably during any waiting times, you could actually use it to provide a bit of entertainment, like when we're like waiting for something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Here, actually, I can take over. Watch, I can make you stop presenting. I just learned how to do that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right, guys. So, anybody else have any questions? Remember, it's not too complicated.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave the chat.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Have a good weekend, Travis.
Yeah. There you go.
Go outside, get some sun. Bye, Owen. All right, guys. So I'll be here for a couple minutes. I'm gonna stop the recording. But if you have any questions, I'm right here. You can finish this later. This is all due by Sunday.